Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I'm nearly done with my the first pennant for my Boho Bunting, which I started yesterday. I'm ready to put the backing on and add some finishing touches, so I thought I'd come back and show you how I've got on and how I'm going to do the backing just this first one. So let's have a look. Here we go. So this is what I've done. There's a little applique piece, that a piece of vintage embroidery that I wanted to use. I made it into the rectangular shape and did a sort of tack-in stitch around it, which I'm going to leave there because I quite like the look of the stitching. I layered it up with the torn piece of cotton just to kind of frame it and make it a little bit bigger because I thought the proportions looked better that way. And then I did several rows of running stitch around it just to kind of draw attention to that focal point. Did the same down here. I added some of those little beads that came in the scrap bags from Bazaar. There we go. So I stitched them on, and there was a hole in the middle of each of them, well, a bit off centre some of them, and then I added a French knot to the middle as well, and then ran similar lines of running stitch around them. I did chain stitching between the different sections of fabric, and then the bit I think I kind of enjoyed the most was I took some of this fabric, so I've brought over some of the original fabric so you can see. So I love doing this with this kind of a fabric where you've got all kinds of patterns in there. You can just add stitches into the patterns. So you could, like with these squares, you could put little cross stitches in there. You could do a little back stitch around the lines. Where I had shapes like this, I did a little chain stitch, and I did little lazy daisy around here with a French knot in the middle. And where you've got lines like this, you can just do little short straight stitches. So yeah, I had a lovely time with that. Just kind of randomly going into the pattern that happened to be there. So little French knots where there's dots here. Obviously I haven't gone all the way across because I'm going to lose much of that when I put my backing on, so there was no point. I used different weights of fabric, of thread, sorry. So I had some of this cotton thread, which is quite thick. There we go. And some stranded embroidery floss, which I used 2 strands. And then some of this lovely old vintage Silco thread. That's a Coats thread called Machine Twist Super Sheen. Love that colour, love both these colours. And this one was the Silk Substitute, which is tending to break a little bit in certain places, but it's fine, I can work around it. It's ideal for, a little project like this is ideal for using up these threads. So yeah, I've used kind of 3 different weights of threads just to keep it interesting, and I just picked out the pattern that was already there in the fabric. I'll try and get the camera to focus on it. So you can see that I've just used a mixture of chain stitches, back stitching, and little French knots, and just some running stitch there. Also quite enjoyed doing around here. It was a back stitch, and then I ran back along the line of stitching, twisting another length of thread around and around the back stitches just to give it a bit more thickness. Yeah. So there's an example of where I did the little kind of a lazy daisy with a French knot in the middle. I filled in with some crosses here. Yeah. So that's really fun to do and really easy. You don't have to think too hard because you're just following the pattern that's already there. So anyway, so I'm all ready to go. Got another piece of old shirt that I'm going to use for the backing. I decided it wasn't worth wasting any more of the pretty fabrics from the scrap bags for the backing, because I'll probably hang it up in such a way that you won't really see the back anyway. Obviously I still want it to look nice and I want it to kind of coordinate, but yeah, I thought this is ideal, and it's a little bit sturdier as well. One of my lovely viewers has pointed out that it was getting there was a lot of noise from where I had the glass cutting mat. So like when I clang the scissors down and things, or if I accidentally bash my microphone and things like that. It does make a lot of noise with that glass mat, so I'm hoping now that I've taken the glass mat away that it'll be a little bit better. And what I've done is I've ordered from Amazon, should arrive tomorrow, an A2 size cutting mat in like a light grey colour. I had one before in a dark green, and I think that was better noise wise, but the dark green looks a bit meh on the camera, so I think light grey will be better. Oh, and I said I'd find out what that word was. I thought it began with O, where you save all your little tiny snippets. It's orts, for anybody that doesn't know that. So I've now got my own orts jar, and apparently it used to mean just kind of general leftovers. I think originally it was probably food scraps, but it's kind of been adopted to be used by people who do a lot of stitching for their leftover, snippets of threads. So, this kind of thing. You can use them for all kinds of things, and I've got in mind using up these scraps for tassels and beads later on. So I'm going to keep them all. Mine isn't going to be just threads. It's going to be these tiny snippets of fabric as well. This jar probably will fill up quite quickly because it's not just threads. And I might make a pretty cover for the jar as well. Okay, but let's get back to I'm going to stitch round 3 sides and leave the top open. I thought about just whip stitching the top closed, but I think I'm going to leave it open for now because I'm not quite sure yet how I'll attach it to the tape at the top. So I might just leave the top open, so I've got I'll just leave my options open there, I think. Okay, so I thought this would take me 2 or 3 evenings to do, but look at this real embroiderers. Look away now, look at the mess on the back. It's fine, you're not going to see it. Yeah, I thought this would take me several evenings, but I was so enjoying it. I was sat there, what was I binge watching last night? Queer Eye, I think, last night. I finished with the Squid Game. I'll have to find something else now because I've run out of Queer Eye as well. But yeah, it was so kind of relaxing and easy to do that I just couldn't stop. I just carried on. I need to make sure it's the top that I leave open, not the sides. So yeah, I'm going to stitch this down the sides and the bottom, and then I will come back and show you the very last finishing touch. I've still got to put my pom-poms on. If I was wanting to do, and I might do for some of them, like a fringing or something, I would enclose that at this point inside between the 2 layers, so that when I turn it the right way out, the fringing's already sewn in. But for some things I can just sew it over the top afterwards. So in this case, I'm just going to be adding my pom-poms on afterwards, so I just need to stitch it around. Okay, I'm going to stop recording and I'll come back and show you when this is all done. I mean, I could whip around this on the machine, but the whole point of this is just to have something quiet and easy to sit and stitch. I don't really want to be getting the machine out. It doesn't need to be amazing sewing. I'll probably just do a small running stitch because, it doesn't need to be a particularly strong seam. There's not going to be any pressure on it. So yeah, I'll just whip round that quickly by hand and I'll be back and see you in a moment. Right, so I have just quickly sewn all around. It's only taken me a couple of minutes. I started off with just running stitch, and then I've gone into a back stitch where I've got some sort of where I've got a lot of the embroidery here. It's a bit bulky, so I thought I'll do a bit of back stitch there, back into running stitch, and then I've just done a little length of back stitch at the corners to make it a bit stronger, and wherever the joins of the different pieces of fabric came together. Can't seem to find my words today. So I'm just going to trim those. I pretty much followed that original line where I drew around my template, and I've just gone a couple of mils outside of it. I'm going to leave the basting lines, which were a couple of mils inside of it. I left them deliberately inside because I like the look of them, but if I didn't want to see those, I would have done them on outside my line. So I'm going to trim the excess seam allowance here. All this can go in my orts jar now. Definitely going to need a bigger jar. I can see how, you know, that jar would last quite a while if I was just putting threads in it, but apparently some people were putting the threads out for birds' nests, but that's a bad idea because it can get wound around the legs of the little birds. Lovely idea, sort of all those colourful threads in the bird's nest, but yeah, not a good idea. And then I'm just, let's just do this bit, and I'm just going to clip corners. That's the top, so I'll leave that. I'm just going to clip these bottom corners. I do appreciate when people leave feedback in the comments about, you know, if there are technical issues like the sound's wrong or something. Quite a while back, somebody mentioned that they couldn't hear me very well, and I have since learned how to increase the volume before I upload to YouTube. But I didn't realise how intrusive it is when, you know, the banging and crashing when I move things around like this. And it's probably still a bit loud because this is still a hard surface, but I'm hoping that cutting mat will be ideal. I'm trying to put these things down gently at the moment, and when I edit, if there's any massive noises, I edit them out, but obviously can't always do that. Okay, turn it inside out. Get my little pointy tool ready. Moment of truth. Oh, that's cute. Oh, look, it make a nice little glasses case, wouldn't it? Let's just poke those corners out. There we go. I think I might treat myself to one of those little seam rollers. People who do a lot of quilting and patchworking use them. I thought about using one of my brayers, but it's not the same. I think the seam rollers are slightly convex, so you get more pressure on the seam, whereas the brayers are straight all across. Also, my brayers are covered in paint and stuff. There we go. Oh, I'm really happy with that. That's kind of what I had in my head. Then I've still got my 3 little pom-poms to sew on. I'll probably just put a stitch all the way through and back out, and then stitch onto there. I'm a slightly different colour, put it in the middle. Look at our little sprouts, little Brussels sprouts, don't they? Yeah, probably be like that. Okay, let's get this one on. So I think I will have the thread double. Let's do the one in the middle first. Just put a couple of stitches in here. Okay, just snick this off. And then I'm just going to put my needle right the way through this pom-pom. I think these pom-poms must have been rescued off of old clothes or something. They all came in the scrap bags from Bazaar. I will leave a link to Bazaar in the description box in case anybody wants to check out their amazing scrap bags. I think they should call them treasure bags, not scrap bags. I mean, they are scraps. I just love that they're all recycled, and it's such an eclectic mixture of patterns and types of fabric, and yeah, and the other little goodies they put in with the beads and doodads. There we go, so that's one on. I've just got a couple more to stitch on. So there we go, that's it, finished. Well, I've left the top open because, as I say, I'm not quite sure how I will be putting the tape on yet. I might end up enclosing it within the bunting, so I don't want to close that top yet. I'll just leave that open. But that's it, that's my first piece. I'm really happy with it. Even quite like it from the back, you know, even though that won't really show. I'm just thinking, would that make a lovely little bag or something as well? So yeah, I've got lots more ideas for things to do with these scraps of fabrics, but I think I should be able to easily make one of these little pieces every week, and perhaps once a month or so I'll do another little project using these scrap bags as well, amongst all the other things I want to be doing this year. So that's me done for now. Here's my I can't get it the right way around. There you go. And there's my first little Boho Bunting pennant. I hope you enjoyed watching that. I hope maybe it'll inspire some of you to do a similar thing. If you do, or let me know. Take pictures and tag me. I'd love to see. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching today, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.